Hi, welcome to the Wake Up Podcast. This is Mia Gilbertson, and no, I have not replaced the Ben Cason, so don't stress. But I am here with him because he finally gets to talk about podcasting as the podcaster.
Get to be a guest.
Yeah, how are you feeling about that?
Good. I'm excited. Yeah, see, usually I get to cheat because I have people come in here, businesses, you guys come in, I put you on the spot. I'm like, tell me about this. Tell me about this. I'm always asking questions. I'm like a 3-year-old. Like, why?
Yeah.
So now
I
have to actually answer some questions. I'm
right.
excited.
So my goal today, my sole goal, is not just to learn about the importance of sole goal in life. It's not just to learn about podcasting, but also to stump you at all costs.
All right. Cool.
All right. Are you prepared?
Let's see it. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll start easy. So
okay.
If you're a content creator, obviously the series is about content creation, and podcasting is kind of one of those elusive. Sometimes it doesn't even feel accessible maybe to some people. So if someone is like, I'm kind of interested in podcasting, don't even know where to start, what do you say?
I would say go for it. So podcasting, yes, I get it. It's a very intimidating medium looking outside it, right? It looks like, you want me to sit and talk into a microphone for 15 minutes? Like, shoot, I can't talk for a minute on this video without stumbling and cringing at myself. Like, it's tough, right? But the thing about podcasting is, it is the purest way to connect with your audience. So yes, video is great. You can see your emotions. That's very cool. But video can be really curated. Podcasting is very simple. Like, the person is going to open up their Spotify, open up their Apple, and they're going to go find your podcast. They're going to click it, and they're going to intentionally connect with you, your voice and them. That's it. Like, that's the connection. And so the thing about it is, like, podcast listeners are incredibly loyal. That's just the way it is. Like, it's always been that way. If you listen to a podcast, like, you're very likely to come back to it if you enjoyed it. So once you get over that hump of like, hey, I'm here doing a podcast, like, it's a little bit awkward. Once you start putting that stuff out, the people that connect with you are going to have a genuine connection. That's what I say to these businesses that come in, right? I'm not going to be like, hey, you're going to have 100,000 people listening. That's just not likely at the beginning for sure. But the people that do, shoot, you're going to know a lot about them. Like, let's just take Vern from Advantage Home Mortgage, right? So Vern's one of our clients. He's, I say all of them are my favorite, but he's one of my favorites for sure. Like, he comes in here and does his podcast with me. And the people that want to know Vern, like, if you're thinking like, who do I want to trust, with my house? Who do I want to trust with my mortgage? You're going to give Vern a call because you listen to him on the podcast as an expert for 45 minutes. You've had 45 minutes of you connecting with Vern. You've been able to see what Vern, how he handles problems, how he approaches different things, what he knows. You can see him cracking jokes and be like, yeah, he's going to make this fun. Like, that's just the benefit of a podcast. So for a creator, yes, you may be like, Instagram model, you may be, YouTube, star, you may be making yourself gaming videos. Like, those things are very awesome. But your audience, if you want them to deeply connect with you, you can do a podcast, because then they're going to have a very untapped, like, very real experience with you, the creator. And that's going to bring them back, and they're going to be vested in your success.
Interesting, because there's no gimmicks, right? There's no fluff. You can't put B-roll on top of stuff. You can't that. I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's you, the microphone, and your listener. And your listener, it's just you.
Gotcha. And so you obviously started podcasting before you came to Wake Up.
I did.
So tell me what that was like. How did you start?
Okay, so I started because I started in radio, right? So I was doing radio, doing sports. I'm a big sports guy. So in radio, things are very structured in radio. You know how it is. Like,
I do.
Oh yeah, at 15, break. At 25, break. Like, you have to keep things very limited. So we did the sports show. And so I'm on the sports show with a few of my friends, right? And we're doing the sports show, and I love doing the sports show. But the problem is, like, I can't get my real thoughts in, because I approach a problem very long form. Like, if you were to ask me, like, if you were to ask me something about sports, I'll like, here's an analogy, here's a reference. Like, I'll go way all over the place, and I'll look over and I'll be like, oh shoot, it's already 9:14. I have a break at 9:15, and I didn't let these two guys talk, right? Right? That's the problem. So at that point, I was a leader at the radio station with younger guys in radio, and they wanted a shot to talk as much as I did. And so that was the problem. It's balancing, how much do I want to shine? How much do I want to be on the radio? How do we want the talk show to be like with the time and getting other people a shot? So me and my friend Jacob, we were like, screw it. We're tired of these parameters. We're going to try and do like very untapped. We're going to talk about this as long as we want to, and then we'll figure out where to put it and see if that works. Right. So our first one, we did these like high school football previews for each team. So the way that our show was set up, right, was we have 12 minutes of local for radio. So that was in radio. You're like, you have 12 minutes. you can't break into anything in 12 minutes for sports. Like you can do cool clips, but you're not going to get anything serious out of that. So we did a 30-minute video / podcast for every team. So that would have been a 3-hour show, and that would not be anything you could do in radio. Right, it's just nothing you can do in radio, but we put that out. And so like fans of Centennial and Central and County and West, they're connecting because they see, oh, they're talking about my kid's team for 30 minutes. This isn't like wow, they're not just saying like 4 sentences about stuff they don't know. Like these guys are connecting with my kids and connecting with my school. So I'll connect with them.
It makes them feel important, right? I mean, because and that's the thing about interpersonality. It's like no newscaster or radiocaster is going to dedicate so much time to one of their kids, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas you would break down, okay, like this is what their last season was like. This is, what they've been working through. This is what the coach said.
Yeah, the best you're going to get on a radio segment, like, I love a lot about radio, but the best you're going to get in a radio segment in an hour show is, shout out to Alex Reed. Look at that. Look at the stats. 120 yards. Good for him. Now into the next game, right? So like that's the best you're going to get. You're not going to have guys, breaking down what your son is doing well, or breaking down what your nephew's doing well, or breaking down what you're doing well. I've had some of the kids on the team, like we went and interviewed them, and then we talk about them, like, those really connected. So like when it comes to podcasts for that just got me excited. So then from there I was like, all right, we're going to do debate podcasts. We're going to do more sports podcasts with longer form. We're going to do football podcasts. And all of it was because I like to talk for a long time.
Right. And did you feel like listeners were listening all the way through? Like, did you look at stats? What were you finding out?
Yeah. So especially like as we got into the series more and they built that rapport, yes. And especially like for those high school ones I was talking about. Yeah. Very much so. Like, because you're very high school fans. You want to know what people are saying about your team, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, it's not always going to be that way, but when people get vested and they listen, it'll surprise you how many people will listen to an hour and 20 minutes. And
the interesting thing too is, we failed to mention it was for the university, right?
Yeah, it was for CC Pueblo. Yep.
And I remember, I don't think it was your podcast, but someone else at Rev, they had a podcast and they were saying that they had listenership from like Finland.
Yeah, no, right? that was ours. Yeah, we had like people from Finland. We had this spike in Spain. We had some Japanese people listen at one point. It was like, at one point we had like 7 or 8 like people from India were listening. Whew. It's a crazy thing. Like you don't know how they see it. You don't know why they're listening to us talking about the County Hornets football team, but like, like they're there, they're listening, they're connecting.
Interesting. That's so fascinating. And so, given that you started with the university, we had resources in terms of equipment. What would your advice be to somebody that maybe doesn't have a university or doesn't even have the money to buy the equipment? What would you say?
Sure. Yeah. So the equipment problem, I get it. It's tough. Like I've been there as well. Like in high school, I tried doing a podcast with my friends and we'd get my phone. Most phones have a thing called Voice Recorder. You could download an app to do that, put it in the middle of a table, and we talked at that point.
Oh, interesting.
So if you need to, even that easy, right? The technology is getting better for that, just talking to your phone. Like it sounds weird, but you could do that. But microphones really aren't that expensive nowadays. Like to plug one, I like a Blue Snowball is not that much. Like you'd be able to get a USB port connected into your computer, nice and easy. So there's ways to do it. You don't need the Wake Up Studio. Wake Up Studio is awesome and it really elevates it. I'm not saying that, but like the audio is very crisp and we're in here and it's a great time. But like if you're trying to make a connection with your audience, like it's not a huge deal that it sounds the best it can at the beginning, especially.
Gotcha. And what about like software? Do you need software?
There's some free like audio editing software if you need it. I'm trying to remember what the name of the one I used was in high school, but like if you look, there's some that you can use. Like even then, like if you're trying to get the best one, right? If you're trying to go get Audition or Premiere, if you're a student, that's really cheap as well. So it really depends what you're trying to do, but like just go find something, make it work.
Gotcha. Now, our argument in one of my episodes was that, you said that everyone's so skilled, I don't know if I'm as skilled as everyone else here, but there's a lot of almost like unidentifiable skills that a podcaster has to have.
Sure.
If someone wanted to become a podcaster, what are those skills? What do you need to know?
I'd say the first thing you might want to do is focus on trying to find a sentence on the way. So
what does that mean?
This is just in broadcast. This is in radio. This is in podcasting. You're going to start talking and sometimes you won't know where it's going to go, but you're going to have to learn how to put your sentence together and figure it out. So
is that what you just did just now?
Oh, of course. That's what I do all the time.
Gotcha.
So like, yes, people plan stuff out and that's really great. But even then, like, you're not going to read word for word from what you're doing. So at some level, you have to be comfortable with yourself to be like, okay, I'm going to find this thought on the way. And so how you do that is you practice. And so there's not an easy way to learn that.
Right.
So I used to make this commute up from Rye to Pueblo every day. This is a really dumb story, but this is just like a little thing that
How long is that drive?
It's about 40 minutes from my house all the way up to the university. I would sit in my car and I would drive and I would pretend I was doing a radio show for 40 minutes. So I do that both ways. I try my best to, depending on the day, obviously, but for like a whole semester, I made that a point to be like, okay, I'm on the ride. Welcome to the Ben Cason Afternoon Show. Let's talk about the sports news and like try and, teach myself how to keep sentences going, keep thoughts going without a plan.
Interesting.
Like it sounds dumb, but I'm telling you, it's an interesting challenge. Mia, I challenge you, like in your next 30-minute drive, be like, all right, this is the Mia Gilbertson Show. Talk till you get there.
That's so funny. That is so funny you say that because I would have like big speeches in my head, right? Yeah. And on my car and on my drives home, I would almost like try to speak those.
Yeah.
But the problem, what I noticed is that I didn't have the discipline to continue when I messed up.
That's right.
I would start over and start over. But that's the skill that we need to look for, right? Is like you don't get to start over when you're doing a podcast. You just have to keep rolling.
You can edit it, but just like keep it rolling. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. So are there any other practice exercises that you do in terms of developing other skills for podcasting?
Sure. So I guess for other skills, like interviewing is big. So not all podcasts are going to be in interview form. So that's the first thing, but you're going to get people who want to be on your podcast. You're going to have people there probably that you need to get to open up. So that's tough. You'll get somebody in here. Like, I don't have that problem with you, right? Because you're very comfortable in front of a microphone, but some people will come in, you'll press the record button and they'll freeze.
Which is so funny, right? Because it's like the cameras aren't in your face really. Yeah, it's
just talking. But the problem is there's something about it. And I get it. I've been there. So first off, you need to understand how to get yourself to open up quickly. And then how to help other people feel comfortable to open up quickly. So when you're talking for interviews, there's like these silent cues you can do. You could be smiling. You can be nodding your head. You can be like, ooh, yeah, good point. Like write the stuff down. Like these little things like make people feel like they're valued. And so the thing about it is like, you could be coming on here talking about banking, but if you have a banker that's passionate and excited about what he's talking about, that's going to translate. If I'm in here with you, Mia, and I'm like, like podcasts, let's look at the stats. like I'm nervous about that, trying to make sure every sentence is right. It's not going to have the same ring as me who's in here and it's like, I'm so excited about podcasts. I love what I'm doing for here, Wake Up Pueblo. Like it's just a different vibe, right? So the quicker you can get your guest comfortable, the better. And ask open-ended questions. If you ever ask a yes/no question, you're failing. That's my thing for podcasts, right? So I'm not going to ask you like, Mia, how much are you having fun here at this podcast?
No.
Okay. Then I move on.
Yeah. That makes sense.
You got to ask like, Mia, how's your experience been?
It's been great.
Tell me how.
I'm learning a lot. And it's funny too, because I haven't seen you podcast in a really long time. Like I've been on the outside looking in and I've kind of just been behind a computer, but you are freaking good at this.
Oh, interesting. What makes you think that?
I see what you're doing here. I see what you're doing.
See, like there's ways you can so every statement by people that are in your podcasts, they typically will leave open a door for another question. So it's something that I've been working with Jenny on. So Jenny's doing her podcast, Influential Women, and she is getting it quick. She's doing such a great job with that. But like when you come in for an interview, like you've got your list of questions whenever you're starting and, you're like, okay, that's good. So like say you're interviewing me and I'm like, well, I had a really, really rough week this week, but it's fine. And then you go, all right, Ben, next question. Things like that happen. Like, whenever you're interviewing, I'm sure you've been finding these with like interview we just did, like you'll say something and it just opens a logical next question. Tell me more. What do you mean by that? Like it, and that's a way to help understand what somebody's going to say. So interviewing's big.
That is huge. And I guess my next question, talk about follow-up questions, right? Is like, how do you ask questions without feeling like you're interrogating them? Because I've seen, issue, right. Because I feel like there's a lot of interviewers that I've seen that just like question. And it's kind of like, it seems so robotic. So how do people get out of that?
You got to break it up with, Either that's laughing, smiling, or like if it's a very serious story, don't laugh or smile. Be very like, you know, people can see your body language, you know, like people can see your cues. Like if you're uninterested, if I'm doing this podcast with you, Mia, and I'm, yeah, you're right. Good point.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever.
Like, right.
All right. Next question. Like there's a different vibe for this. It looks like me doing that. What you want to do is you want to show that you're genuinely vested in their answer. So, you know, what you say to me is going to matter because I'm going to be listening and I'm going to tell you a question next that's going to come from what you're saying. I'm not disregarding what you're saying, if that makes sense. So it sounds hard to do, but it's really just, you know, just get in here and have a conversation. So like if I asked you, Mia, like, you know, like how's your week been? What have you been up to this week?
Oh, I'm supposed to answer. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
See, I'm vested. You didn't answer. I'm like, oh.
You're hurt.
No, you're fine.
No, that makes a ton of sense. So then I guess now that we really understand like how to kind of get started with podcasting, how do you, or like why? At the end of the day, why?
Why? It's a good form of expression for yourself and it's a good way to connect with your audience. So these podcasts are obviously for creators, these ones that we've done, but even if you're not a creator, you know, you as a human being are infinitely complex. You've got tons of interests. You've got experiences that other people don't know. You've got, you know, the things you see, the way you break down the world around you, all of these things are unique. And that's a core belief of me as a podcaster, right? And there's something that's very fulfilling about sharing that.
I like that.
Because like you share your perspective, you share your experiences, you share your stories. You share what you're excited about, what you're sad about. There's a very human element to podcasting because you're connecting with that person, the actual person. It's genuine. It's not, you can't really get on a podcast and be like, all right, my outward persona of Ben Cason he is a confident all the time broadcaster who just talks about sports and that's all I do. Like you get onto a podcast and pretty quick, you're going to see like how he answers a question, how they break down a situation.
Right.
You know, what their logic is. And those things are unique to people. So you as a creator, right, that makes you unique. It makes you special and it makes it worth sharing. So I'd say go share it. And, you know, you may think nobody's going to listen to it and you may not have many listeners at the beginning, but if you keep with it, people are going to connect with the human being behind the microphone.
And where do they put it? Like what?
Where do they put it?
Yeah, if they're like, okay, yeah, you're right, Ben. You're right. You know what? Today I'm creating a podcast. Then they're like, what do I do with this thing?
Sure. So get yourself an audio file. You're going to go find out a way to make an RSS feed. And so do some research on it. It sounds hard. You can figure it out. It's not crazy hard. So go make an RSS feed and you can go plug it into Spotify and Apple or wherever you want to make it. It sounds hard. Watch YouTube. Anyone nowadays can watch YouTube to learn anything, but not only that, like if you're even want to be really simple, just like make it a video and post it on YouTube or on your social media. It's like, you know, there's no limit for time for things. Like just make it happen. You never know.
That's true. Well, I'm gonna push back on that one a little bit. I'm gonna say, how about you make the RSS feed tutorial and then we put it on Wake Up. So if you guys are looking for an RSS feed, I've already got him to do it. So don't even stress about it. I got you covered. And I really appreciate. Yeah. Of course you can.
I can do that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you a ton, Ben. I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to add for the content creator aspiring to be a podcaster.
Yeah. I think like for your podcast, just, you know, go listen to the episode that Mia did talking about omnipresence and talking about your niche versus personality. I think you really hit it right on the head for what a podcast should be as well. So it's the same kind of thing. Like, you know, do you want your podcast to be highlighting you and your experiences and you know, just being yourself, which is very good. It takes a while to build. Or do you want to directly address a niche? And you can just see like, you know, go look at podcasts. Like think of like, what's your most obscure thing that you like, Mia?
Oh
like,
man.
Like what's something weird that you like? I'm putting you on the spot.
I can't cop out either.
No, you can't. I've got you on the hook.
Man, my goal is to stump you. Okay, hold on.
All right.
Yeah. All I do. Man.
Got you. This is
we're gonna cut this down.
We're not gonna cut any of this down. Mia owns a Jeep, so we're gonna go to say Mia really likes Jeeps.
Okay.
How obscure is that? Like how many people do you think like Jeeps?
I think there's a lot
Enough
of people
to
that
listen
like
to a
Jeeps.
podcast.
I think, yeah. I think a podcast about Jeeps, I feel like would be very limited.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're cutting yourself down to
just Jeeps.
People who are interested in cars, then cutting it down to people who are interested just in Jeeps, and then people who listen to a podcast
about Jeeps.
Right? So it's not a big segment, but I guarantee you go look, there's podcasts about Jeeps because people are passionate about Jeeps. And someone like you who maybe is like, I love my Jeep, I want to hear more about Jeeps. You connect with that person because they are interested in the same kind of thing as you.
Interesting. So what I'm hearing you say is basically that like no matter what you're creating, there's somebody out there that's going to connect to it.
Do it. Yeah.
I like it.
I'm with you.
Well, I appreciate you a ton. I hope I did you well standing in the seat of
great
Ben
job
Cason.
interviewing. Shoot. You didn't stump me though, so that's what matters.
Right.
We're good.
So tell them what to look out for. What's next?
Okay, so let me give the little plugs here. So first off, if you want to connect with me more and some of my podcasts, some of my stuff I'm doing, you can find me on Instagram at @TheRealBenCason. You can find me there. If you want advice on any of this stuff, send me a message. I'll probably respond. Like
probably no.
I'll respond.
Yeah,
I'll respond.
Yeah.
So, as I've been where you're at, young creator, trying to figure out what's going on. So, I'd love to help mentor you through that. As well as if you want to just listen to me talking about sports or the other dumb stuff that I like, you can find that stuff right there. I've got links on that. You can find our podcast here at Wake Up. Just look at the Wake Up podcast. Go check out a lot of these other podcasts we've done. We've done a lot of them already about these other creators here that work at Wake Up and what they've been able to do. So connect with them, as well as go check out our sports podcast, The Next Man Up. So that one, I'm really proud of that one. Like we're getting there. Like it's good. We're getting there really good. So we're talking about like time constraints. Me and Nick get on there and we talk for an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
every time.
This dude's here until 9 p.m.
Yeah, we're here late. You gotta make it happen.
Yeah.
But like, if you want to get we interviewed Broncos safety Justin Simmons, Broncos linebacker Malik Reed. We've interviewed a lot of big Pueblo players like John Riston, Antoine Burton. Connect. Listen to those, please. We'd appreciate that.
Please?
Yeah. Please listen to me. No, I'm just kidding. No. So, but you can also check out Pueblo Passion. So I feel like I'm a pretty passionate Pueblo guy nowadays.
Nowadays?
And I'm not originally from Pueblo.
Oh,
so that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So I've connected and not like I'm not going to be. So we made this series called Pueblo Passion. I was just talking to some people that are Puebloans and have found a lot of joy listening to other Puebloans talk about why they're passionate for this town. So go check that out. We have an episode with the mayor that's coming out a few weeks ago from when this is recorded. So check that out if you want to get that perspective on how he's handled COVID and everything going on. Let's see, what other podcasts do we have to plug? We got a lot going on, and keep your eye out in the future for Wake Up Podcast, what's going on here, and just, keep your eye out for some podcasts. Give it a listen. We'd appreciate it.
And absolutely. So if there's any creators out there listening, just know that we've got a whole crew of creatives in a lot of different fields that are willing to help you out.
That's right.
And even though there's been only one podcast about podcasts, right? One about, video, there's going to be so many more to come. There's so many avenues for us to explore.
Sure.
So if you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out, ask any one of us. You also got the tag for Ben Cason. And that is all we have.
How do they follow you?
Okay, you can find me at Mia.Cadono, Kadono.
Gotcha.
I apologize. That is that's my mom's name.
I just thought it was Cadono.
Cadono.
Okay.
Cadono.
Good to know.
Yeah. And same thing with Ben is, and every single one of us, if you ever have a question, you want to talk about strategy with me, you want to talk about podcasts with Ben, you want something from a videographer, Tyler Shaun, David Chavez, J Rod, they're all there to your disposal.
Sure.
And we'll also curate that all through this podcast. So stay tuned for more. And that's all we got.